Good evening and welcome to Odessa the Dark Crusade, Season 2. Tonight we start our scene with Madeleine. Torvald has left the Haven a while ago. Madeleine is by herself. She's just given Guthrie a couple of instructions of what to do. Her daily chores and other things, and currently she is waiting. She's just gotten a couple of two small bottles of blood ready, and she is waiting for a guest.
Yes. Memnon going through the appropriate channel, sending a forward to Madelain. Perhaps, if it's fair to say, by day through our mutual ghouls. Memnon now arriving in the night. He will not come to your door through the obvious front entrance, but I think we established last time that there was some roundabout way.
There will be. You have one time seen, you've been here before, and you were instructed before, and there is a small opening in the what shall we say, the boarding up of the place. Not boarding up, but there is sort of a, not fortification, but somewhat very slight fortifications, just making sure that no one who is not coming, or shouldn't be here, is not having an easy time coming in. But there is, when visitors are expected, as you are today, there is a opening that you are instructed. There is a door that is not locked.
Very well. Okay. So Memnon will go his way through that entrance. Will make his way into your haven proper until he is looking for, he expects to be greeted by one of your ghouls to be announced.
Yeah, and Guthrie will, as you probably knock on the door, she will open it, welcome you again. She will lead you into the study. And Madeleine will just get up from her chair and just put the notes she was reading to the side, and she says, always a pleasure. Please, come in. Guthrie, return to your studies. We will be fine.
Yes. Memnon, when he has arrived, you might notice that he's carrying some kind of sack with him. Looks like there's something bulky in it, and as he approaches you, you may hear something rustling inside in his movements. And he will address you as, Sister Madelain, it is good to see you again. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. A new friend? She points at the sack.
Oh, this? He'll hold it up and rattle it. But some candles.
Ah. I see.
You see Memnon kind of look around. Is your, in this room where you're sitting, is it very well lit?
I mean, the Sombra have a tendency to not need light that much. There are a couple of candles. It is. Oh, you're quite certain that Madeline prides herself on there being a couple of candles always. Mood lighting, maybe.
Is that what she's saying, or what are you saying?
You could get that. You could get that impression.
Okay. Yes. Memnon would pull one out and say, would you mind if I lit a few?
No, not at all.
And as Memnon finds adequate surfaces to place the candles on, you may notice that he is kind of laying them about in a circular pattern. But as he's doing that, he's not just quiet. It would be kind of creepy even for him. Um, but Memnon will say, "So I have some good news, sister. That tavern I was speaking of that I looked into, well, I was able to servants as a taken on tavern woman. So I'll have an ear close to the owners there, and I've begun to turn some business their way. A simple arrangement. And it seems that the owners are well receptive to it. So I will announce to my ghoul to be soon enough, Sophia, that if you were to patron the place, that you be given the respect you're due.
That's good. She is reliable. Well, I suppose she will be when she is good.
Oh, she is quite new and still adjusting. They must all begin somewhere. Therefore, I could not think of a better standard to set by an introduction to yourself.
Oh, there seems to be quite a bit of that.
And how is business on your end?
Quite well. I have begun to, well, honestly, most of us are, most of my plans are put to a somewhat slow pace, given the curfew. But I must say that some of it goes better than I expected. I have begun to make it harder for certain businesses to, well, hopefully put them out of business when we are to open our newest well, buy up our new establishment.
Hmm.
Other than that, there are certain things I need to do for certain people, but this cannot be done when there is military patrolling the streets. I, at some point in the near future, will claim a bit more domain. The brothel seems to have, well, I'm going to see if Torvald can be. He has grown infatuated with a certain woman that, well, owns a brothel. I will claim domain as he cannot. But I will give him the responsibility for maintaining it, of course.
Yes, about that. Madelain, may I ask you a frank question? Not to make a pun, but yeah.
I do not believe anything that I have seen has stopped you from being direct. Please, go ahead.
Would you appreciate someone who could keep a secret?
Depending on who it is, well, I would say that it is very, very hard for most people, even our kind. But if I knew for sure that someone could keep a secret, sure.
Now, would you suspect that someone who blathered everyone else's secrets to be trustworthy of a secret of yours?
Hmm. Are you saying that Torvald has blabbered?
No. Not that, sister. There is something I wish to tell you, but I cannot tell you all the details. It is out of a need for my own reputation.
Ah, yes. You can trust me.
Though I might seem difficult in forthcoming with these details, I hope you would understand that should anytime anyone ever come snooping around myself asking about you, they would be met with the same difficulty.
You being careful is not a sign of any concern for my case. It is quite the opposite. It is a sign of wisdom. You should be very careful with what you say to whom.
Well, let me put it to you this way. When we first discussed going into a mutual business enterprise, you did give me some cautionary advice about entering into the trade of flesh in its sensual capacity.
I did. Well, I do believe my thoughts and speaking of this topic was that I was not entirely sure how I felt about it myself, given the fact that I was employed in a similar profession, well, in the same profession, when I was mortal, in the most desperate of times. But it gave me many lessons that have made me excel. Those who can make it in such a line of work, shall we say?
I gotta roll something here. Memnon's gonna try to hide his utter shock and surprise. What would be
You better. No.
what would be perfect against your peony? Because he's only trying to not like hesitate after he heard that.
Yeah, I think that is manipulation subterfuge because you're trying to. Yeah, that would be manipulation subterfuge because you're trying to keep a straight face essentially and not
Yeah,
flinch.
poker face.
Wow, 4 successes. I'm gonna roll my 8 dice, I think. Yeah. Madeline does not. Well, no, I don't. I don't believe Madeline sees you. Sees it.
Okay. Well, Memnon, he doesn't say anything. He just listens and lets you speak. as he lights the last candle. So, was Madeline going to say anything further?
Yeah, she was. She well, just it was. I was not even ghoul. I was a simple, lonely mortal. And I sold myself. I did not work in such an establishment. I cannot say that it is not without some painful memories that I reminisce of those days, or the opposite of reminisce. That is why I perhaps expressed hesitation. I am sure you can understand.
Of course. Well, your hesitation wasn't misplaced. There is a interested party in Thorvald's acquisition. And I cannot say whom, in the same courtesy that, if, again, anyone ever asked me of you, I wouldn't say that either.
A member of Clan Toreador?
Oh, you're going to see Memnon hesitate. I do not know if I would be revealing too much to give you the name of their clan, though I have just confirmed that much for you. It is a matter very close to home.
You have not said anything. I have just made educated guesses.
Well, let me ask you something, sister. Would you find the Toreador troubling to you?
Well, it depends. Are you asking politically in the city? Then no. They have shattered their reputation so much that their current primogen is, what shall we say, utterly under the boot of our seneschal and our primogen. She is bound to him. This, of course, is not public knowledge, but, well, I do believe it is, but do not go spreading it around, but
An unspoken truth.
quite. So in that sense, no, I do not fear them. But
Good.
they are high clan, and I find them artistry, which is not something. Well, you are more of an artist with a anvil than I am of anything, but you do not have the same serious pursuits of artistry as they do. I fear that they blind themselves. They pamper those who they would embrace, or those who have been embraced for a long time, to luxury, to bask in beauty. This is not something that fosters a great deal of personal integrity or personal strength. I see them as potentially weaker than they could be.
Well, then I will say this interested party is more formidable than that. Understand that I am skirting trail of certain confidences out of, well, respect for you, whom saved my life on more than one occasion. So I hope you know that has never been forgotten. Plus, I wish to see what Thorvald had planned be brought to fruition in some case.
We are not talking of the brothel, we are talking of a woman, yes? Sadia?
No, we're not speaking of Sadia necessarily. Oh, she is on the wrong end of this equation for her own safety.
Sorry for this much. She has been fully ghouled, however. So she is more protected now than she was before.
That would be good for her own sake, I suppose.
You sound as though you know something very specific threatening to her safety.
Yes, Madelain, I do. This was the part that I mentioned where I can't speak every detail of what I know.
I understand.
But of course, I do not wish to play games with you. I have far much more respect for you than that. Let me just put it this way. I would keep close to Thorvald in the near future. He may need your counsel soon.
Oh, he has my counsel. And this woman, Sadia, is the proprietor of this business. And she will be moving into this haven soon. At least that is the plan. It will make certain attempts on her quite a lot more difficult. If that is their intent.
I would say that it is longevity very well, as she did.
I wonder, is it simply because she is beautiful and a certain Toreador simply cannot get enough of her blood, or he wishes for her to be his progeny? I do not understand it.
No, it is more a matter of business, a matter of coin. Simple trifle. This curfew has strained many of us, and some are getting desperate.
Why? Even when she is at work, or the work itself will soon be within my domain, so well, I plan on that being the case. If they were to intrude on it, I would not advise on that.
Yes, yes, indeed. And I would like to see that be the case. That it would be under your domain. In the event that this person wishes to press some claim, I would wish that the political fallout would not be too much.
If this person is not a complete novice, as you seem to suggest, if the claim of domain is made, well, I do believe that person will stay away from her. Perhaps, if you play your cards right, if the person is desperate, and that you are less desperate, perhaps you could come with a counteroffer. Something to
Oh,
both of your interests. Something that will definitely help him. Perhaps help you a little bit more.
oh, believe me, Sister Madelaine, I've tried. They are rather sure of themselves. But on that note, here's an idea that I'm sure they heard, but perhaps did not listen. It is a odd similarity, if you think of it. The women um, of these brothels, they are craftsmen, like me, tradesmen. They have their skill, they have their art, and they sell it to patrons
There,
who.
they have an art. Hmm. You are perhaps more toreador than I gave you credit for. More of an artist than I saw in you.
uh, Memnon kind of like searches your facial expression when you say that for a second. Not quite sure if that's a compliment or a backhanded insult, but or a backhanded compliment. But
She's smiling, not hiding it, so
okay.
she just looks at him and just says, I wonder, did you used to admire their art on a more close, in a more personal way, or is it merely admirance from afar?
In my days in the sun, I've had my fill, especially with what you know of my experience before coming to Odessa. Their their services, their art was a respite from the pain of the reality in which I was in. So, nonetheless,
But you do no longer partake?
hmm, it does not serve the same functionality. Like a delicious meal for a man without a tongue.
Well, that is one way to look at it. Although we do not function as the same as we did, there may be even more use for it now. There are those on Via Humanitas who would quite vehemently say that it is even more important, the closeness it brings to humans, the connection it gives you to other humans, the intimacy that you share is even more important. So the act itself is perhaps does not have the same functionality, but it is even more important to do with kindness, with love, with passion, with those whom you love. I myself is I still enjoy it, I must say, but for different reasons.
Memnon is listening to you, but he kind of cocks his head to the side and he kind of mumbles under his breath. I couldn't see Irene doing that, but
No, Irene is too pure.
yes, that. But as I was saying, sister, what if? What if all the courtesans, prostitutes, if you will, for lack of a better term, what if they banded together, formed their own guild? Think of it. No more dealing with shady characters. The strength.
But dealing with the church, I am quite certain that quite a bit of fools in cloth would have a certain different ideas of what a guild of whores, as they would probably be known quite fast, would constitute of moral degradation for this fair city.
Would you wager that they have secrets of the priests as well as the nobles?
I would be very shocked if they did not.
Perhaps it is something that would need to be cleaned up. Excuse me 1 second.
Madeline just looks at Memnon for a moment. She begins to, inside her own mind, just cleaned up. She looks at Memnon.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
She's just considering for a moment what you meant by clean up.
Ah, yes. I'm not very familiar with the gods of this land, though I am familiar with human impulse, human desires and needs. Surely there is something that even these gods here can appreciate about, as you said, the companionship, the closeness, the balm that the human connection can provide the soul.
What do you know of the Catholic faith? Of the Pope? Of the Christian? She would not say Catholic because there is no distinction at this point.
Right. Memnon would probably say character. I'm not sure how much I can get away with it without dots and theology, but he would just say basics of like, there's a man on a cross, there's some rising from the dead. All of it seems very
That is the
boring.
claim of a Jesuit, but one of the highest honors of a woman is to dedicate her life to become a bride of Jesus. This means that she is put in a cloister. As I was at the beginning of my life, I was raised in such a place. Forever a virgin, the bride of Jesus, devout and sworn to his service. They see gluttony as a sin. They see lust as a sin. They look down upon those who openly, and I would agree, indulge in this very, very human nature. They would see them as sinful, working for the devil. They see the evils in this world as tempters. They see witches as agents of Satan or Shaitan, or he has many names in their theology. Lucifer. Well, they see all such things, horrors, coming from that. Some of them. Some of them would probably not keep it too much mind, but others would protest. Some would find this an affront to most things and deny it. There would be a great many religious people that would be against such an addition of such a guild. It would be absolutely divine to look at their faces once they hear about it, but it would be a hard battle.
See Memnon kind of rub his chin, just
But you
calculating.
can you can tell another thing, like Madeline's smile has just been growing a little bit as she began, and by now it's actually grown to be quite a genuine, broad smile, as she seems to be lost in thought almost.
If it's obvious on her face, Memnon would say, "You can see it too, can't you? Possibilities."
A quite interesting proposal. Something I would very much like to help you with as well. To think of it. The
Of
women
course.
under our care would be treated better than anyone else. And they would not be treated as badly. It would be something that is needed just as much. But think of it. We would potentially compete with all others in the city, and, well, quite a few places would probably not be able to compete, and the best of the girls would come to us and work for us.
The goal of any guild is to corner the market and the trade and the craft. Their strength and unity would then be able to leverage pricing, treatment, the rules, and as one unified body, then perhaps there could be some negotiation with the other figureheads of the community to at least define boundaries out of mutual respect.
I need to be at some gathering of church fathers to see their faces when they learn of this. It would be absolutely, oh, it would be great.
May I ask you, Madeleine, what does that faith, what do they do with women that are widowed or past the age of childbearing? Is there any leeway with what a woman does with herself?
She is not looked down upon. She is not revered. She helps the family, cares for the children, as long as she can. But you know as well as I that humans do not live. Once they are past the childbearing age, not many of them last very long.
Hmm.
Eh,
And
There are some, but as you know, it is only a handful in every community.
hmm. So, this faith of yours, he kind of asks as a question, as he's actually not quite sure at this point if you really are of this faith, but clearly you have a deep knowledge and were once a part of it, but you may
No,
get that out of memnon.
no, it is no longer my faith.
Well, then, from what you know of it, how are humans supposed to copulate if it's regarded as sinful?
Within the bounds of marriage, you see, most Christians marry. They are joined in the Holy Communion with God. As their witness, they are married, and under His light, they procreate. One could see it as the God expressing His blessing to every couple who finds love, and another could be to see it as a means of control by the church.
So then what happens to a woman when she's barren, who cannot bear children?
What happens to a woman that is barren in non-Christian cultures?
They typically serve the harem. Because Memnon thinks that's what happens.
Mm-hmm. They are, well, in most families, as far as I understand, in most places in this world, if a woman cannot bear children, she is worth a lot less to her family. I do not know if the church does anything to them. I do not honestly know. What does barren women do?
So, when in a marriage the woman is barren, the husband is presumably left with her for the duration of their life.
Mostly, yes.
Mostly.
Well, nobles. I have heard of one or two nobles who, my, they know quite a few people within the church that have, what is it called? She will just spend a couple of moments searching for the word. She says something like a Latin word that is resembling annulment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very uncommon, but Madeline has heard of it. Like, and she will just, this is a point where she's not quite sure because it is so very rare. Like, she describes it like vaguely because she has not really had contact with it really. So.
Mm. Mm.
But funnily enough, such an arrangement is only done when one is a lord.
Oh, yes, the nobles getting all the privileges. Well, perhaps our idea of this guild does not have to be so formal, though it would be better if it were. As I'm sure that the thieves of this city have their own code of ethics and conduct.
Well, I do not know. I'm quite certain that the Muslims, the Jews, and the Christians, that none of them have any particular love for the horse. They seem to be treated quite poorly in all three societies.
And yet here they remain.
Quite. One would assume that providing a good place for them to work, where they are protected well, where they are protected better than anywhere else, will make it harder for others to simply just do what they want with them. But we cannot be the first to think of such things. Although we can do our very best to make certain that we will be competitive. There is another place. A Setite has recently, a new Setite I met not too long ago, runs another brothel also in the Merchants District. We should have a look at that establishment as well if this is something we wish to go forward with. However, dealing with a Setite is not a prospect I look that much forward to. Wow,
Well,
that's really loud.
oh, geez, I'm sorry.
Oh, it was just like there was a wind blowing into the microphone.
Sorry, I was inspecting something and
Okay.
my mic was like next to my nose. Sorry. Memnon would he would say that he hasn't had much dealings with Sedites, so he might look to you for particulars as like, what is it about them that makes them difficult?
They are so treacherous and slippery that they will admit it to your face if you ask them. They are distrusted by everyone else, which alone should be cause for concern. And I have seen their discipline that is unlike most other things.
Oh,
I believe they call it Serpentis, but I am not certain.
they deal with snakes.
They become snakes, in a way.
Another clan possessing an art of transformation. Interesting.
Yes. I have heard things. They also possess sorcery of some description. And that makes them capable of quite a few things, and have made them able to hold Egypt and a large part of the land south of us for as far back as history goes, for our kind and for humankind.
Yeah. Even snakes have a natural predator. Have you ever seen a mongoose?
I cannot say that I have.
Very fearsome creatures. They are perhaps the bane of snakes. They have no fear over them either.
Well, we just need to find a lot of them, cool them, and then set them. Oh, perhaps not. I have dealt with them in the past. They're perfectly lovely, but the first thing my sire, she pauses a moment. There's like just a quick pause, and then she continues. My sire, the first thing in the real lesson I learned from him, one of the best lessons I learned from him, never trust the Sethites.
Hmm. Yes, I received something similar, perhaps a little more cryptic from my own in their regard. But I find this matter to be interesting. The vying for the brothels of the merchants' districts, and here you are, a new player on the field. Well, perhaps not new, only new to me. I would give you but one advice regarding this individual who is interested in the brothel that Thorvald has taken under his wing. I think it would need a little bit more lighting in the place. And Memnon kind of like to the candles that he set out.
Do you like fire in small doses?
My sister, have you ever seen a forge?
I forget I'm speaking to, of course. Well, I assume that there are ways to shield you from the flames themselves. I would
Oh,
certainly
of
hope so.
course. Oh, of course, of course, of course. You know what I've learned? My time at the forge. And that gets you first. It's the heat. The invisible, unseen force that is generated from the flame.
Hmm. I'm curious, how does it get you exactly?
There is something that the flame we see moves. Perhaps your eyes are better adjusted to see it than I. But I notice that when I look in through the flames, just beyond the horizon of the flame itself, there are distortions in the air. This heat, I'm sure, you could feel it from these candles when you put your hand close to it.
Hmm.
And the closer you get, the hotter it gets.
That is that is not necessarily with flame, is it? It is the same thing you see when you are in the desert.
Hmm.
The distance flickers, does it not? That is what I experience.
Well, yes, you are right about that. I think, perhaps, that given our condition and curse behind it, the power of fire goes beyond the flame that we see. It is quite like the rising of the sun, how slowly we start to feel its power over us. not just in an instant.
Hmm.
Out of character, I'm not really sure how to explain that in these centuries' terms, even though
I
Memnon does
think
have
that's.
science.
I think that's. I think that's good enough. Like it is vague. It is. It's hard to describe when you know what things are physically and you know thermodynamically.
Yeah. It's particles, you see. Memnon will ask Madeleine, have you ever brought a shadow to life and seen how close you can bring it to the proximity of the flame?
Oh, I have a good idea. Depending on what it is and how big the fire is, sometimes you can suffocate the fire.
Memnon looks very intrigued by that. Truly. I believe that warrants some study on my part.
Oh, I have seen lights go out. But be careful how you do this. Some of it will hurt you. But there are ways. You have seen it. When you are a part of the shadow, I would not recommend it, but if you simply push the shadow forward, it can be done.
Memnon would kind of like, stare at the flame a little bit as he listens to you and thinks on this. Yes. Are you inclined to the sciences, Madeleine?
I have quite a few books, but our clan has a certain predilection. I do not believe you would call it the sciences necessarily. She smiles.
Ah, yes. I I like to cover my bases too. I think in my own mind, I hypothesize that there must be some correlations between what we call the supernatural and the effects that can be caused, a cause, an effect, a relationship between them. At the basic level, as I understand it, the blood is like fuel to, well, fire, so to speak.
The more we exert the powers given to us, the hungrier we seem to get. We are, as much as people boast that we are, so very different from humans. We are changed, sure, but as they run, as they exert themselves, they must eat and drink. As we exert ourselves, we must drink blood. The connection seems valid enough.
Yes, a dietary change. Though that may be a little oversimplified.
There are very many differences to the two conditions, but I would say yes. Oversimplified, but well, Simplification for the moment seems to be what we can do. I am quite certain. I mean, Grand Cappadocian has been around for thousands of years. They do not seem to have any concrete answers as of yet.
Perhaps someday.
Perhaps.
So, I am curious. When it comes to this potential aggravation that it might be for you, will your first approach be diplomatic or one more force?
In what regard?
In the regard that the person whom is interested in the said brothel wants it for themselves.
That depends on what he says. He or she says. Might, of course, do not know their name, but she smiles a bit at that. She probably knows who it is, but well, and she, you know that she's close with Thorvald, so you can make your assumptions. But she just says, "Well, I'm going to have a talk with the person, of course. But first, I do believe I will claim domain, and then, well, then I will have domain over a whorehouse. Still not entirely certain of what to think of it, but I suppose I could change their perspective on their work, given time."
Well, I would be honored and willing to help negotiate any treaties and mitigate certain losses for, well, the sake of peace and perhaps a little bit of profit.
Quite so. You never got to meet my brother.
You had a brother in mortal terms, or
A fellow of the blood. Not my blood brother, as in we shared sire, but Ulrich, myself, and Orsini were among the first Losombra to enter and, well, settle in Odessa after the events that took the original inhabitants of the city. So we ruled as Ulrich as prince, me as seneschal, and Orsini as a master of harpies. We kept in contact when I left the city. We kept in contact with each other. And him and I did not seem eye to eye on very many things. He himself owned a brothel very soon after arriving.
And what was the fate of your brother?
He was killed.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Madeleine.
It is one of the reasons that Joanna, or Sister Joanna, is no longer in the city.
And Sister Joanna was out of character. I'm not certain if you went over that with Memnon. Vaguely recall you might have. Not sure.
A toreador who got herself into very much trouble and had to flee the city once she had simply accompanied, or not accompanied, accumulated way too many boons to ever pay off. She left the city in disgrace, fled. She was also apparently an infernalist and disgraced to the blood.
An infernalist?
Quite so. Another reason why, the other main reason that the Toreador are so very weakened at this moment in time.
I have heard from I would say a reliable source that some of the troubles happening in the guild's quarters may be due to something related of the infernal, perhaps a remnant of whatever had happened prior.
Well, I certainly do not hope so for Clan Toreador. I am quite certain that people would look to them as the first suspects, even with the control they are put under now.
Personally, my first concern isn't about Clan Toreador, but the proximity of my domain to the guild halls, even there within. I believe I'm going to have to look into the matter myself.
That is probably very, very good. One thing, though, there are other things in the night. Very, very powerful things. If they offer you things, do not say no. Do not say yes. Why? Decline. Decline every advance they come with. But do not say no in a strict manner that might annoy them. It is not only the Bruja who have quick tempers.
Yes. Them. See that. Madeleine, would it be too forward to ask if you know any way to combat such forces if it came to open conflict?
Infernal?
Let's just say other nightly things.
Hmm. Running is a very good method of surviving.
Memnon chuckles at that. But that does make sense.
The most mundane things are very helpful. We just simply do not realize it. This is one of the reasons that we use, well, I do not use it as much as most Ancilla do, but mortal servants. They're ghouls. Very few people, as far as I understand, of these others will really suspect or notice very much wrong. They will ignore them. But another thing to keep in mind, put people in front of them or between you and them. It will slow them down. But
What?
talking with them will not work. Hmm. But there is one thing that we can do. If you catch their eyes, and if it is life or death, a proficient use of dominate. I have seen that work from time to time.
Sorry about that. Sure, that was mad loud.
Very much. Or the occasional weird Malkavian saying a sound. Anyway, Madeline will just say, if you are proficient with the art of dominate, it can work. More so than other things will. It is no guarantee, of course, but at least that is what I have heard.
Do you know where I may find materials to study on nature of these things?
She looks at you. Well, that depends on what kind of thing you are referring to.
The thing that could possibly be haunting the guild halls. If if maybe Madelain is noticing that Memnon's not really trying to keep that word in use.
That word in use. Sorry. What word?
Infernalism.
Oh, okay. Okay. I know very little myself. I have seen with my own eyes my prince, Ulrich, combat them very effectively. If you wish, he is the person that knows most and will fight such things most ferociously.
Well, if I could have an audience with him, I would like to learn these things. I and Memnon kind of gives you a half smile with a glance. I would like more so the honor to vanquish and dispel such a thing from the guild halls, maybe perhaps to make a better claim for myself. Our town.
Well, then consider what you tell him. And might I ask before anything else, what makes you think that such things are involved?
Oh, as I said, I've heard things.
From where?
A reliable source.
Well, if that reliable source is kind, remember that I will call quite a few things demons.
I'm sorry, say that again? Just that last part?
She said, if this is from the kind, they will call quite a few things demonic or like infernal or essentially she's saying that people are superstitious and a lot of things that may be fairly normal to kindred, for instance, would be considered demonic. So
Ah. Well, I can assure you that my source is one of us.
well, I can surely give you an audience, but I will tell you this. Depending on what you can tell him, and if he finds reason to believe you, that you may have a lead to something that is infernal in nature, there is a likelihood that he will take you with him or leave you there and storm off to Edessa himself.
You see memnon kind of like sour. Well, that'd be no fun. I'm sorry, I'm not saying that he says that.
If this is true, and he has reason to believe you, it is his seal. It is his focus to rid the world of as many of them as possible for him. He will not stop. So I would advise some caution when speaking to him. But at the same time, I would not simply walk up to him and just say that he is, that you would like to learn about.
I understand your meaning. Of course not.
Lest you would want him to think that you are an infernalist or interested in such.
Right. I do need to work on the way I word things. But at the very least, I would not present to him simple rumors and superstitions. I have to see the thing for myself.
Well, I can bring this further and say that a young member of our clan wishes to speak with him.
No rush, Madelain. There is so much else on our shared plates.
Actually, there is a rush. If infernalism is returned, as it might, we need to root it out fast. Very fast. Before it spreads. Once, I waited a week. Not long. And then it was already too late.
That fast? Well,
in that case, yes. A week, 2 weeks. It was very, very short time I had before all hell went loose.
Well, I will extend to you an open invite into my domains since it is close to, I believe that is the closest domain to the proximity of where my good source has said troubles are being caused. So, if ever you wish to pass through, you have my permissions, and please do not hesitate to knock upon my door.
What exactly have been seen, Memnon?
By my own eyes? Nothing.
By anyone's eyes? You are not
That
saying his name, but you are simply saying what has been reported.
it is what they believe. I have not seen for myself that there is any infernal activity there. And this source has only alluded to what it might be. There are murders happening. There are bodies that have been buried, I believe they said. But again, it's all rumors. I would like to see more of it for myself. Just so I can separate what the facts are from the rumors.
bodies buried, people who have been murdered. That is it? Or is there more to it?
See Memnon rub his chin. There's something about carvings in their flesh, they mentioned.
Hmm. Do we have any descriptions of symbols or what symbols there might be in them?
I wasn't given any. I honestly recalled a twitchy fellow. What was his name? The one we buried alive?
Oh, the ghoul.
Yes. Made me think of that. So, yes, perhaps finding these bodies and examining these symbols might be our first start.
If they are preserved. They're probably not, but who knows? We can get lucky. We should get together and look at this. This would take priority.
Very well. Send word to me.
At
When
your
we
earliest
come.
convenience.
Madelain, if you think that this is of the utmost importance, then it will become the utmost importance to me. I would just like to make sure that we are prepared. So if there's anything you would suggest that I gather to me, let me know.
Well, if we are simply the preliminary, she pauses. Armaments. Your normal armaments. Clothing or armor if you have it. Weapons. And a full stomach.
It always seems to be the hardest thing for Memnon to come by. But yeah, he'll nod.
Oh, you have been offered blood, by the way. Just
Ah.
um, but she just I can assist you with this. Bring a bit of blood if required. But I should be able to have the both of. Suppose it should not be that big of a deal with the curfews going around.
I'm sorry, say it again?
But she said that it shouldn't be that big of a problem with killings with the curfew coming or being in effect.
Right. It shouldn't be, but who knows how this person or thing is getting around. Matter.
Remember, there there have already been two people within the city, within well, recognized people that have been confirmed to be infernalists. It can be some of us who do it. Someone who holds domain, perhaps. You never know for certain.
Correct. A matter of fact, it was a night that I was out doing some preliminary research. I heard a commotion, and from the shadows, I saw what appeared to be another K-Knight fleeing City Watch in south in an area south of guild halls. Out of character, if I had the map before me, I could like kind of point it out.
Oh yeah,
And
but they know where what.
yeah. He would relate to the approximate area he was in,
Yeah.
where he witnessed a Canaanite who was much like Memnon self. That night he got arrested, and we'll recall that for you. We'll say it could just be that a hungry neonate that has complications feeding.
As most do these nights. We shall meet soon. In a couple of nights, I will send you a letter as soon as possible. But I must make some preparations for this, along with some other preparations. I hate to throw you out like this, but there are certain things I will just have to use some time on.
No offense taken, sister. I did come to you in quite a rush, and I hope you.
It is quite alright.
Is good. I hope that our friendship has not been marred by
Oh
what
no. If it turns out that you are right and we find and dispatch infernalists, our friendship will be all the greater.
Very well then. Please do keep the candles as a small gift if they are to your liking.
Oh, they are. Thank you very much.
So yes, Memnon will go with his empty satchel and make his exit.
And as he leaves, Madeline, with a bit of couple of worried thoughts in her mind, will begin to prepare for something that she really hoped that she wouldn't have to return to as soon as she seems to be doing it. But, well, thank you very much, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. Good night.